right, let's get right into it. If you're preparing for competitive exams, you know that understanding the big shifts in India's economy is absolutely critical. Today, we're going to zero in on one of the most important parts of our agricultural story, the strengthening of India's allied sectors, especially livestock and fisheries. This is a topic that pays off big time, both for your prelims facts and your mains analysis. So let's start with the big question. We live in a time of unpredictable weather and shaky markets, right? So the biggest challenge for our economic planners is how to build a safety net. How is India making its massive rural economy strong enough to withstand these shocks? And the answer, which is really the core of what we're talking about today, is the focused strategic expansion of these allied sectors. This isn't just about tweaking things. It's a fundamental move towards livelihood diversification. It's about helping people move beyond being solely dependent on farming crops. And that gets us to this idea of the diversification imperative. You see, for the small and marginal farmers that make up the backbone of India, having different sources of income isn't a luxury. It's an essential risk management strategy. It's what keeps food on the table when a crop fails or prices crash. Now, this number right here really tells the story. While agriculture as a whole has been growing, the livestock and fisheries sectors have been chugging along at a steady, reliable growth rate of 5 to 6% every year. That kind of predictability is exactly what builds rural economic resilience. So all this growth at home has actually launched India onto the world stage. The sheer scale of what we're producing now is massive, and it gives us some key data points you'll definitely want to remember for prelims. The numbers are just staggering. India is the undisputed global leader in milk production, making up almost a quarter of the entire world's supply. And we're number 2 in the world for both eggs and fish, and 4th in meat. We're not just talking about growth anymore. This is global dominance. But you know, it's the trend that's really crucial here. Let's just look at milk, which is the cornerstone of the whole livestock sector. Production has jumped by almost 70% in the last decade alone, going from around 146 million tons to over 247 million tons. That's a huge leap that's not only powering the rural economy, but also massively improving our national nutritional security. Now, a transformation like this, it doesn't just happen by accident, right? It's the result of some very specific targeted government policies. So let's break down the key missions that have really fueled this growth. This is core stuff for your mains answers on governance. So the government strategy is really built on 3 main pillars. First, you have the National Livestock Mission, or NLM, which is all about encouraging entrepreneurship and making sure there's enough animal feed. Then there's the Rashtriya Gokul Mission, the RGM, which focuses on developing our indigenous breeds to make them more productive. And finally, the National Animal Disease Control Program, the NADCP, which is all about animal health. And to really get why that last one, the NADCP, is so important, you first have to understand the threat. Diseases like foot and mouth disease and brucellosis, they're devastating for farmers. They don't just make animals sick. They hit milk production, growth, and breeding. They cause huge financial losses. And this is where the NADCP has been a total game changer. The goal was simple: control these diseases by vaccinating 100% of the vulnerable animals. And the results? Absolutely remarkable. Outbreaks of foot and mouth disease dropped from 132 in 2019 to just 6 by 2025. That's proof of a policy that's working. You can see the direct results of all this work right here. The average productivity for each animal has gone up by a solid 27%. That leap in how much milk each cow or buffalo produces is one of the biggest improvements anywhere in the world, and it puts more money directly into farmers' pockets. But what good is all that extra milk if you can't get it to market, right? That's where infrastructure becomes key. The government has helped set up over 6,000 bulk milk coolers and more than 61,000 milk testing labs right in the villages. This whole system connects millions of small farmers to big dairy companies, making sure they get a fair price for quality milk. Okay, so that's livestock. Let's switch gears now and talk about the second major pillar here. The fishery sector has become a huge part of India's blue economy. We're talking about a massive opportunity for growth, for exports, and for creating jobs all along our coastlines. And believe me, the story here is just as impressive. In the last 10 years, fish production has more than doubled, hitting almost 20 million tons. And what's really important is that our seafood exports have doubled in value too, now worth over 62,000 crore rupees. That shows we're improving everything from the fishing boat all the way to global markets. So what's the driving force behind all this? It's a flagship scheme called the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, or PMSYS. Think of it as a master plan to modernize fishing harbors, increase production, and strengthen that entire value chain. And its impact is huge. It supports the livelihoods of over 30 million people. Okay, so we've looked at the two main engines, livestock and fisheries. But now let's look at the things that make them run, money and technology. These are the foundational pieces that are helping to modernize and formalize both of these huge sectors. For any of this to work, farmers and fishers need access to money. Affordable credit is everything, and extending the Key-Sin credit card scheme to these activities has been a game changer. It gives them the capital they need to operate, so they don't have to go to informal lenders who charge crazy high interest. The fact that so many applications are approved shows it's really working. What's really interesting here is how we see a similar strategy playing out on the digital front for both sectors. For livestock, we have Pashu Aadhaar, a unique 12-digit ID for every animal. This helps with tracking health and planning. For fisheries, there's the National Fisheries Digital Platform, which gives digital IDs to fishers, making it easier for them to get loans and insurance. Both are about using technology to make things more efficient and transparent. All right, let's zoom out for a second. It's important to see how all these pieces fit into a much bigger picture. This incredible development isn't just happening in a bubble. It ties directly into India's national development plans and even our commitments to global goals like the SDGs. And the connection to the SDGs is crystal clear. By giving stable incomes to millions of small farmers and fishers, we're directly hitting SDG 1 on ending poverty and SDG 8 on decent work. By empowering women in these sectors, we're tackling SDG 10 on reducing inequalities. And by promoting sustainable fishing, we're contributing to SDG 14, life below water. Okay, let's bring this all home. From an exam perspective, how do you tie all of this together into a really strong answer? It really boils down to this simple formula. The transformation we're seeing is a combination of three key things. First, huge productivity gains from better science and animal health. Second, strong institutional support through things like credit and market connections. And third, that crucial layer of digital infrastructure. You put those three together and you get a truly resilient rural economy. So I'll leave you with a question, the kind you might see in your mains paper. Critically examine how policy-led interventions in the allied agricultural sectors are contributing to livelihood diversification and nutritional security in India. The framework we've just walked through gives you a perfect structure to build a fantastic answer to a question just like this.